Are we official?
We are live. Happy Wednesday, everybody. It's the night before Thanksgiving in the States, and this is the Sisters interview. Tonight, we are interviewing Duke Eirikr Thornton. He was the 9th, 12th, and 15th King of Untitled and currently resides in Lockock. Welcome.
Welcome, Your Grace.
Hello, hello. Hello from sunny Australia.
So we
and happy birthday.
Thank you.
Everyone, it's Shaki's birthday today. I'm not going to say how old she is, but she's 5 years older than me, and I'm still in my 40s. So
I'm old, and I'm proud of it.
But anyway.
And
so you're great. Yep, you're super old. How did you find the SCA way back when, and what got you interested?
In those days, we're talking about 1981, two. Sunjan Timogen, I went to school with her, so she is my lifelong friend, and we used to go roller skating. Yeah, roller skating. We used to go across the border to Linden, and they had an old roller skating rink there, and we would go, once or twice a weekend, and we would roller skate. Anyway, she came and told me one of these times we're spinning around the rink, and she says, "Oh, we found this cool group, I said, we've heard about it, but we've been looking for it. We were driving down the road, and we looked across and saw it. We pulled over. We got names and contacts. You got to see it." So she told me all about it, and I got all excited, and we made up some junky stuff. I mean, I think you got an old photo of my first event, and we went to Crown. Now, it was the Crown that Bulbrick got knighted at, because I just remember that feature. So we're talking about early 82. I think is when you would find that on the presidents. I think I was going to look that up, and I would tell me my official first event. And and I took a roll of film. Yeah. Hopefully that's right. I'm sure she got knighted that particular event. I mean, I didn't know anybody, but I heard, Bulbrick, and lots of cheering and all the rest of it. So.
Yep, September 1982. You're right on.
Yeah, there's my first event. Yeah, that's my first event. Yeah, okay. So, I took lots of photos, Storm Crow's Viking ships were there, and Thorin had long hair like a hippie, and, we were all young and beautiful, she would say.
He's still a hippie.
Yeah, and I was hooked. I watched them fight and stuff, and then we met Ilka, Sir Geoffrey, and he told us where the fighting practice was, and he gave me a bunch of his leftover crap, and I took a moving blanket out of my dad's truck, and I cut a hole in it and hung it over me, and then stuck all this ragtag bits of metal and crap on myself. I had no hip protection or anything. I went to fighting practice 7 days later, full armored, and I think there's a picture of me fighting. I have a red breastplate, and I'm thinking I'm fighting Torgal and Dak, and I'm standing with Sir Gerhard, and that was the armor.
Oops! Oh no. Okay.
Oh,
we lost video.
No, there we go.
Lost me. What? Oh, there you are. Hello.
There you are.
Do you want me to pull up the pictures now?
Yeah, just go along as I talk about them, because it's just, those pictures are numerical. They're basically my career, and you might have other ones. There's lots of them been put online recently, most of them later on. Here you go. That's my first event. That's Sunjan in front with her hairy goat boots. And she wore those things for years. I just remember them, you know, and oh gosh, they got just matted and disgusting, those terrible little furry things. But hey, we look like we were out of a Conan movie, you know. I had a tea-dyed, I think we went and bought not a tea-dyed, it was just, went to the fabric shop and got some brown dye and would dye a shirt, you know, and I had brown corduroy pants. So I was brown from head to bottom. I was brown. So, you know, but it was, hey, absolutely loved it. And I wore that outfit for a long time until I think, who was it? Honorad and her friend, all the SA names. I'm getting used to them now, and their mundane names now. Anyway, they gave me a new outfit, and which I wore to death as well. And that was my first one. They felt sorry for me because I kept on wearing the same single outfit because I had nobody to make me anything. I didn't realize I could actually do it, you know. So yeah, so there you go. That's the first one. And then there should be another one there of me fighting with Sir Gerhard. And if you can find that one, there you go. Yeah, so that's whoop, there you go. So that one that's the armor I had. It was the knees were open. You can see I added on to the bottom of the helmet. So the helmet was a reject. It was too short for everybody else. So I just hammered on a 2-inch piece of metal around the bottom, and wow, it was pretty good. I got hit and I got hurt. I went home purple because Jeffrey's method of teaching was if you don't block, he'd pound you in that area until you would block it. So I would go home with about a 1-foot purple mark up down my leg, you know. So that was Baroness's birthday. Torgal was king, I think, and and Dak is just to his left there. You can see his helmet a little bit. I got a bunch of photos from that tournament, but yeah, that was we had to tie each other. So one was a shield man and one was a swordsman. And yeah, the next shot, which I didn't send you, was me falling to the ground. But anyway, it was all good. All good and fun. So that was my first tournament. So I went to the first event was September Crown. I was in armor a week later, and then a couple months later, that was the first tournament, was Burns' birthday. So yeah, anyway, I was on the ground a lot.
Did you have mentors, like fighting mentors up there besides Jeffrey?
In the early days, it was Jeffrey. He taught a bunch of us. We used to meet at in Surrey, out there in Surrey. It was a school covered area there, and we would go every Tuesday or something it was, and that was it. It was at the beginning. Now this is different from later on when I finally got a bit more switched on. I loved it, and I lived to try and fight some more. And then they eventually had I think Gerhard started one in North Vancouver, which was on a Wednesday or a Thursday. So no, it was a Thursday. So I would start going to that one. So it was Tuesday, and then it was the Thursday one, and anything to fight. And then as I started going to events, I started listening and asking, where, I was finding where the best fighters were, which of course was all in Seattle and Portland. And so I found out where their fighting practice is, which was on a Wednesday, if I got that right. And so I would go down and started going there on Wednesdays. So this is all in sort of the next year. And I was fighting 3 practices, and I think there was another one that popped up. So there was about 3 or 4 a week, and then I went to tournaments on the weekend, and I just circled wherever I could go, and I would just drive. And I would go to tournaments all over the place. And I drive a long way, and I get killed right away. But eventually that stopped happening. I eventually started to get through some of the ranks, but it was sheer determination. There was no talent. I just practiced all the time. And then when I wasn't at fighting practice, I had a little ritual I would do every night. You can turn that picture off because I don't know who I'm talking to. I just see myself on that photo.
Sorry.
There you go. I feel like I'm talking to somebody now. And, yeah. So what was I doing? So I had a little ritual every night. I would stand in my living room, and I had an old photograph on the wall. It was an Art Deco one. I had a pretty little girl from 1932 or something. I worked in a large antique business, right? So our family business was an antique center in Cloverdale. And this picture was on the wall. It was just one I grabbed out of the shop and stuck it up there. But on the mat, it had this geometric Art Deco matting on it. And it had a cross line, it had an angle, and it had angles. So I would sit there and do slow work using those angles to get my accuracy. And I would practice it. And I was told by somebody that you would bring your sword through and you draw the whole sword through a single point. So I would sit there each night, and I had this little thing. I would do this 20 times and 30 or 40 or 50 times each move. And that was my little ritual. And I did that, and then all that, I would go to fighting practice. And when I started going down and having Thorin and Torgal and them beat on me, and it wasn't I wasn't there all the time, but I went as much as I could. Then I started bringing the high form up, because Torgal was at his peak, in that high form, and so I kind of picked it up and I brought it up, and all of a sudden I was starting to kill people, and little I started getting my Popeye arm, I started to build up, and as you had to have to do that styling, but I just know that I got better at it, and you could show the next photo. I think the next one, I was walking off the field. That was, and I'll just sort of narrate through some of those ones. That was Eirikr and Logantal.
And just for people that aren't from up here, when he says he went to Seattle for practice, that's like a 3-hour drive across an international border. So 3 hours.
Yeah, it was two. Yeah. It was sheer determination. As I say, there was no talent. I was determined. So this one here was the one where Torgal won and then Torgal lost because he didn't have his lady didn't have a membership, I think it was, or something like that. Anyway, I didn't have my membership. Nobody checked. So I fought the tournament. I died in the first 2 rounds. It doesn't matter. I didn't go very far. But obviously it made a difference on the other end of the spectrum there. So anyway, so this was that one. I fought that. I think that was Eirikr with Logantal. I'm pretty sure that was. Yeah. Because he's left-handed there. So that'd be him. Okay, pop to the next one. I can't remember which photos. I should have kept a record of some photos. These are really old photos from my early days that I had from my own camera. I think Sanjan took pictures for me.
Is this a new helmet?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so this is when I moved along a little bit. So now I started getting a bit better helmet. So now I actually got a helmet that didn't have an addition on the bottom. Okay, and then this one. This was a Steinrum helmet that I made myself. And this is when I started getting good. I won that tournament. That was the Shittenwood tournament across the border in Bellingham, and that was the point where I started figuring that I'm actually okay at this. And which made me fight even harder. I didn't have any aspirations. I was just pure competitive. All the winnings and stuff were perks. I didn't really particularly care about that. I just was so competitive, and I very driven person. My wife will tell you with great lamenting that I'm a very driven person. and
Uh-oh.
I think there we go. He's back.
Hello.
Okay.
Hi.
This is the ritual. Sorry.
That's
everybody,
not
this is going to happen all the way through the interview.
It's just amazing that we can sit here though in North America and talk to you in Australia. So I'll deal with you dropping off every once in a while.
Oh, yeah, we couldn't do this 10 years ago, so
no.
It was amazing. So but you can see I got the high form there, right there. So you can see I brought that high form up to the practice in Jeffrey's practice. And it used to annoy the heck out of Jeffrey because, of course, I started knocking him out, and then he would sick one guy on me, and then he'd sick two on me. And I remember one evening he sicked four guys on me, and I killed them all because you know, I'd never stand and take them on. I would run circles around people. I could fight running backwards. That was one knack I had. I could go backwards and I can spin on a point. So people would try and chase me because you know what all the knights say to the brand new guy. He says, well, how do I fight this guy? And he says, just chase him down and throw shots at him. And of course, I would run backwards and you could never do it. So anyway, that was sort of the career. So I started getting good about this. Now, I think between the time I started and the time I was first crown was only 2 years, I think. I'm trying to think what it was now. I joined in late 82.
So 4 years.
And I think my first crown I won in
86.
I won in 85.
Oh, 85, yeah.
Yeah. So when I joined in late say 82, so say the beginning of 83, 84, 85. So 2.5 years. But I had came in second to DAC there. Oh yeah, there's the same event. So that was to show off the helmet. And there's a very young Scarlett, if you remember Scarlett. And that was my first time I met her. So we were friends too. So that was my little copy helmet. That helmet actually died a horrible death. I didn't have the ability to polish it, so I took it into a metal guy, a welding shop, and they ground it down for me. They ground it down. And I think we were at one of the tournaments, and Starngram, he throws this little tippy high shot. He goes, tink on my helmet, right? And it was, oh, oh, helmet, it cracked and because the guy he'd done it down to about 0.2 thousandths of an inch, you know, and it was just a shell of a thing. Anyway, that was condemned. So,
did you find
another helmet?
That changing to that helmet, that the bassinet, I think that was a bassinet, from your other helmet, and having better vision helped you?
Yeah. Oh, by far. Once you get a taste of open face helmets, I can't see how people used to fight with those slot ones. But they do really well, and I'm sure you just adapt. I mean, I got okay fighting with the big great helm. Yeah, you do. You learn to follow the sword, and that's the key. And all the rest of it doesn't mean much. This is what kills you right here. So you got to pay attention right here. So you only have one area to look, and you get to read the body where they're coming over and they're going to come across or coming down. So you get to read the body motions and stuff, and you just need to see a certain area. So this is obviously my first crown. I don't have any photos. There is a whole video of my what do they call it? The silver, when I came in second to DAC.
Silver Rose,
which was the previous. Silver Rose, yeah. So that was the previous crown. That was May. This is
September.
Yeah. Okay. I think it is. And so this was the next one after my Silver Rose. So I changed my helmet, obviously, as you can see. I had that helmet I fought with DAC, that helmet, and it's a Gothic one I made myself. He was good, had an open face, and yeah, I was always struggling with identity. I didn't know what persona I was. I never really grasped it for a long time. Hence, I have all the different name changes and stuff like that, because some people just pick one and that's it. That's their new identity, and everybody knows it by them. But hell, I'm sure if I stayed in for another 15 years, I would have gone to another 4 names trying to figure out who the hell it was. But, but it's okay.
Did you have metalworking skills before you joined the STA, or did you teach yourself how to make armor?
No, I used to restore, I do woodwork now, as you would know. But I used to work on vintage sports cars, old English sports cars. I used to collect them when I was young. So I started collecting cars when I was about 14, and I had about 30 or 40 cars over a long period of time. And I kind of got rid of the last one around 19 85 or 6 or so. I used to go to some of the early events in these neat old cars I used to go to, but Austin Healey's and Woody Wagons and all some real cool stuff.
Wow.
And I wish I had them back. I tell you, the cars are worth an absolute fortune now, and I had rows of them. I would buy them in the field. I'd drive up and down the country roads and looking in the farmers' fields, and there would be some sitting underneath a tree in the backfield, and I'd go buy them for $50. And I tow them home. My dad got so annoyed with me after a while. He had an 8-car garage with about 12 cars packed into it. And on the outside and around the yard, and oh yeah, that was just my type. So I used to work because they, of course, over there they rust out. So I would learn how to do metal work from a particular fella, and down the road in Langley, and he taught me basic things, how to shape metal and stuff like that. And yeah, that came in really handy. I had and my dad, when I joined the club, it was really easy for them. They were going over to England on buying trips, so they would bring back the coolest stuff. But he'd buy me anvils and he brought me back a crossbow. This beautiful Victorian crossbow. It was a copy of a 1500s one, 1400s one. I ended up trading it to Torgal, and who traded it on later on, but he would remember that beautiful crossbow. And they went and tried it out and lost one of the cross bolts. It shot it off and gone. So yeah, so that answers your question a very long way. I did know metalwork, and I just picked it up, and I just learned, and I copied Jeffrey's pattern box, so I still have that here. I added to it. I went and studied armor in the Glenbow Museum in Calgary. I stayed over with William. Now he's changed his name now. William Three Falcons. Now what the hell is his name now? Anyway, you'll figure it out. So I just go over there, and I studied over a couple of years. I studied the armor. They had 60 suits in storage, and plus a whole bunch of parts. And then they had another 15 out on the display. And they just stuck me in a little room with cotton gloves. And I go in the back room, and I photograph, and I take them all apart, and I take measurements, and then I'd learn how they did all the articulation, so you couldn't put a pin between the joints and take it. You know, we had all that flat lame in those days. And Jeffrey would do an armory all the time, so I would bring back and show him how it all worked and all that. And it changed a lot of armor, how it worked in our area after that, because he kind of introduced it, you know. I don't know if he still has some of the stuff. We did some trading, and I gave him some of the collar pieces and stuff I built, but that was a long time ago, so I can't imagine he still has it. It'd be interesting if he did. Yeah, so that was my life in armor. I made all sorts of stuff. I still have aspirations. I collect and save all sorts of stuff on little files now, and got a nice little armory in the shop. So just don't use it.
Awesome. I'll pull pictures back up.
So the picture that we were looking at before we started talking, was that the final round? Did you fight Barrick in the finals?
Yeah. So that was the fight. So the next one should be. There is a picture of him on the ground. We were fighting on our knees. Obviously, it was best out of 3. I can't remember. I think I went through on 2 straight, and then yeah. So it was interesting. You know, most of them didn't know who I was. You know, I was the first north of the border, I believe, for Antir. I was the first king in the north. And I fought for Melissa. Now, Melissa, you got to realize, here's fighter stick jock mentality. I didn't know anything about courts and stuff like that. I just wanted to fight. But Melissa, she grew up in the group, so she knew everybody, and she was a sweetie, and still is, of course. So we actually kind of just made it an arrangement, you know, you would call it. You know, I'll just fight, and then you take care of that kingdom stuff, okay? And that's kind of where it kind of came from. It wasn't no aspirations to be king because I just wanted to win the fight, but I didn't realize that, oh, there's all this stuff. And you know, and then some of the first things I had to do as king was really difficult. I mean, really heartbreaking, because I had to remove some people from office that I knew really well. And I didn't know any of this stuff was going on. It's just like, this is this politics, you know, you hear about the politics. And I was a happy-go-lucky stick jock that would, you know, we'd all talk about our war stories and stuff after a fight and all the rest of it. And then becoming king, it was a real eye-opener. And it took some of the fun out for me because it ruined a couple of relationships that I had in the group. And it took years to get over that. And yeah.
So who's carrying you here?
Steingram. And that's a guy I should know really well because he was around all the time back then, and he was down there. I've forgotten his name. He's actually probably on my friends list, and I should know him. I'd have to go back. We're all older, and we have a mundane name, so I just lost track of the medieval names. So
I recognize Steingram, but I don't recognize the other guy. But
he's a knight. Yeah, he was around all the time back then. So.
Somebody will chime in the comments, and they'll know who he is.
Yeah, I'm hoping we couldn't figure it out.
I don't see the comments, so I can't see what's happening. So yeah, so it was really good. Yeah. So there you go. So that's a satin tunic, which I believe Honorod made for me. She must have had pity on me because her and her friend made me a few outfits over the years. I think just because I only had a few at a time, but I finally started collecting stuff from this point on. I actually started getting a wardrobe. It's always good. Like I say, a big steep learning curve, but you know, I was immature. I was naive and immature, and I just was oblivious to a lot of things. And I went out back to Alberta. I've forgotten the name they call it out there. Sorry, guys. I should know all these things. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. And I think they used to have they had a big banquet, and I went out there and Ethel here, the unsteady. They had a competition, and you had to drink 12 beers, and then you had to do poetry, and then you had to recite this and recite that. Well, I'm a competitive. It was a competition. I had to, you know, in it. I was king, and I drank 12 beers. So you can only imagine. I've never drank like that before. I have visions. They weren't good. I remember waking up in the morning, and I thought to myself, oh, right. The events today, I got the tournament, the banquets tonight and so forth. And then I rolled over, and there was a big bucket of barf. And then it all happened. I remembered that it actually happened the day before, and I had completely forgotten the day before. And I ran out, and William was standing at the kitchen. I entered the competition, and I don't know if I won. I have no recollection of it. So anyway, I ran out into the kitchen, and William was standing there. I said, "What happened?" And he just looks at me, goes, drops his head, nods his head. And I was absolutely mortified. Anyway, you know, that which does not kill us makes us stronger. Apparently, I was okay. I didn't do things. They said apparently I had a spoonful of peas going up to my mouth, and then I just zoned out. That was the last thing anybody recalls. But anyway, I got through it, and I started to smarten up after that, and I started to actually becoming kingly, you know, and trying to get a grasp of what I was actually supposed to be doing and stuff. So yeah, big learning curve. First rain.
So that first rain, that first win, were you unbelted when you won?
Yeah. Yeah, you got to realize, I didn't realize it. Somebody only told me afterwards. Of course, there was all this talk about 20th, the first big get together, 20th anniversary. So that was 85 down in Texas. And I just happened to win on the right one. So, I'd won. And I only heard it as a rumor. Apparently they said they didn't want to have an unbelted king represent Antir at 20th anniversary. So nevertheless, I won in September, and I think a month and a bit later I was knighted. Dak came up to an event in Vancouver, and I was knighted, which I think you have a photo of, if I remember right.
I'll pull it up again.
And yeah, so yeah.
Oh,
There it is.
No, there you go. Yeah, that's it. So that's a good photo. So there's a whole thing through the whole ceremony and stuff. So yep, there's both those two. So that's what I got knighted. The next one is during the reign. I had that Italian Renaissance outfit that I wore. But it was a great knighting. It's like they were almost staged. Everybody wore the right colors. It's very colorful. It's a great SEA pick, that one.
Did you know that Dak was coming up to knight you, or was it a surprise?
I think it was a surprise. I don't recall them telling me beforehand. I'm sure Scalanis would have given me the heads up that I had to be there or something. I'm not sure. He gave me a knight's belt, which I still have. It's a bit worse for wear. The buckle had fallen off of it, but I found all the parts actually not long ago, and I'm going to restore it. And but yeah, it was a great event, that one, and it saved. I have no pictures of myself down at 20th. Somebody else would have to have photos, I hope. There's a couple of my what do you call it, to be future wife in a chainmail bikini, but there is no pictures of us. So I don't know, somebody took a lot of pictures of her, but
I'm sure she was rocking her chainmail. Can I ask you a sort of a background question, because I don't think we actually asked you this. Were you squired to somebody?
yes, just Scalanis.
Okay, Scalanis.
Scalanis of Skye, yeah. So they, I think what happened, there's a bit of a story there, but they thought after I came in second that they'd start to kind of work on it. I think after I came in second on the Silver Rose, I actually did a sergeant's test, event. So the sergeant's is, of course, everything that a knight should be, except be knighted. So they stuck me into that, and I had to do that. And I was one of the things we had to play was some games. So they pulled out a chess game. So I played some chess, and I lost in 3 moves. It's giving the guy credit. That was Andre. That was Gerhardt's son. Gave him credit. He didn't realize he won, so I had to point it out. So he did give me his credit. So he let me put everything back. We started again, and we played, 8, 10, 12 moves. He said, "Yeah, you're okay." I lost chess in 3 moves. I didn't know you could lose chess in 3 moves.
So we're getting a bunch of questions about who is in this photo of your knighting. So I'm going to pull it up again.
Okay.
Is this pick rate
Oh,
heralding?
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And then Gerhard.
I mean, yeah, you just give me a second here. I got a magnifying glass. You gotta
That looks like
You got-
Google.
you gotta realize that you're showing me a tiny little picture on the screen, and I gotta look at that. Yeah, it's very young picture art. The girl to the right was also the herald. I've forgotten there. There's David, Sir. There's Oak with his back to us, with the blue,
Here.
with the two. Yep. And then to the right of him is Sir Morgan to the right in the red and yellow. Then me in the middle, that's Sir Gerhard in the left. And the other ones are obscured.
I think it's
Don't-
Torgal and Thorin.
Ah, okay. That's Torgal's hair. Yeah, good work. And
There's a-
I believe Scalanis on one of the photos was to my right. He came, oh no, that's him to the left. There he is. Okay, so he came over and he, because he gave me a belt. But in the other photos I have, he's standing on the right-hand side, so I don't know what happened there. He changed sides. That's
And this is Prescient.
oh yeah, Christian, Dak, and then to the left is Anharad. And then there's somebody outside the picture, which I assume is Gerhard's wife, Amanda. Because I was a sergeant, she had to release me, so she would have been close by too. So there you go, and that was that event. Yeah.
Somebody wants to know why the poaching fee for Shittim Woodshire was Legos, chocolate chip cookies, or Rice Krispie squares.
They used to have a tournament which they baked cookies. I used to get chocolate chip cookies, and so I know that I won them 2 years in a row because I think there was something like 3 dozen, or there was a stack of them. So we stuck them in the freezer. So I had chocolate chip cookies for about 6 months. And so, and then the next tournament would come around, and then I do it again. So this is my encampment, and many would remember it. Anharad gave me a jam, or actually Thorin did it, but I mean, she did the talking out there. She said, "Oh, you should go see his encampment," you know. And I didn't know what a jam was. Again, I do these things, and then they get these awards and acknowledgement, but I didn't really actually understand it. But I won the tent in Eagles, and that was an Eagles tournament win. The chest, which is a Viking copy, I copied it from the Longship, which is Oslo.
Is that
In the
inlay?
museum in Oslo. No, it's metal strapping.
Oh, okay.
And I did the table, and I copied the bed from the Oslo ship burial as well. And nobody did at that time, so it was so it was kind of neat because it was doing stuff that I'm copying things I'm easy to copy. It's kind of hard to create from nothing for me, but I can copy pretty good. Dak has that chest now. He has 2 of my chests. I won another chest that I won in Eagles on another year, and the bed went to somebody else, and I sold the tent when I was down in Australia War.
Oh.
And it was, yeah, it got picked up by the wind and disintegrated. It broke all the rails in half and everything. So I was so disheartened, I just sold it off for nothing. And I did that. I did a couple purges, as you would call them. And yeah, there you go. This a picture that tells you everything, eh? So I was king there. And they brought me into court, straddled on that bed. There is a picture of me being brought in. I saw it years ago, and I don't have a copy of it. It was in the early days before you could right click and save. And so there is. They brought me in court. It was. I like to make people laugh and keep the tension, break the tension and stuff. So I like to joke around. Hopefully, I didn't hurt too many feelings on the process, but. Yeah, so it's like, oh yeah, okay. There's the second one. So that's second one. That's Torgal and Garen on the left. Carry me. And again, Dak. was king before me again. So I was prince to below Dak. Yeah. So that was, yeah, there was 2 years between each one, I think, wasn't there? Yeah, there you go. That's kind of an earlier one, actually. I'm wearing the Italian Wren outfit. That was from my first, and I'm wearing the early crown. So that's a bit out of sequence, but that's Jade, of course.
I was gonna say, I think that's Jade.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jade. Yes, we were young hunks. Yes, we were friends from young days. So we didn't see each other very often, but we could just settle in and have a good chat. So that was that would have been 86. That one there, yeah.
So I have to tell you that one of my apprentices reigned with Jade, and I sent this to her, and she sent it to him, and he said, "Oh, I love that guy. That's a great picture." So
yeah. No, he was good. He was a good friend. He came over here. I saw him the last time I saw him was over here. He came to Lockhead. He was king. They weren't a kingdom then.
So your first reign, you reigned during 20th year, is that right? And you went down there?
Yeah, and yeah, that was good. That was a fun one, that one, and well, that's later, that one. So there's a gap there of photos. There is a few I have in black and white from a news article, and you can have a picture of Melissa and I coming into court, but it's an old grainy, newspaper type picture. And there's a couple others. I think I had another one where I had one of the other queens in my arms, something like that. I don't know who she was, but yeah, very few photos. But I got my act together on my second reign, I think. And I started, I remember there was a tournament, and Steingrim was fighting a guy, and he had lost his legs. And anyway, this guy straddled Steingrim on his shoulders. And you'll probably all know which kingdom it was, Outlands or something like that. And he was just literally put his crotch up to his head, and he was going like this and spinning him at the same time. And poor old Stein was on the ground, getting spun into the ground. And well, he was probably used to that, but I'd never seen it. Of course, and Tyr, we're like, you don't get in each other's face. You stand back and give a good fight. You can step in, you step out. You don't do this kind of stuff. Anyway, I was furious. I just screamed. And I remember a couple of people were trying to hold me back, but I was so furious. And anyway, the king from that kingdom came over and trying to explain, this is we can do this in our kingdom, and we're really sorry. And anyway, I finally looking out for our fighters. So yeah, it was good. It was good. It was a good time.
I was going to ask you if you could tell us your favorite story from 20th year, because I've heard some really good ones. And if that was your favorite one, then that's cool. But if you have another favorite one, I'd love to hear it.
Oh, I don't have any favorite ones. That's just a story I can remember from 20th. Let me see. Well, Kimberly and I were just sort of starting to date then, but we weren't together. What else? I remember I fought Jade, and he embedded my chainmail into my shoulder. It was so hot that I didn't put my gambeson on. So I had my chainmail came over there, and he embedded it into my shoulder. And I had that scar for years, 5 links.
Wow.
But, if you got some stories, I'll listen to them, because I don't remember. They might pop back if I hear them. I remember the little village that they had there, and the guys who had the chainmail stuff, and we all thought it was cool stuff and that at the time. But I don't remember, all the fights and stuff like that.
That's cool.
I think I fought. No, there was another one, but it was in Australia. They had a ducal tournament. They used to at Australia, and all the kings would put the 2 best dukes in, and but that was at Australia War. So, and I asked if I could fight it, but I couldn't win it. But I wanted to fight to see if I could beat all the other dukes.
Of course.
Of course.
All right, I gotta get us back
Yep.
on track picture-wise. Sorry.
Yeah. So that was our first grain.
There we go.
Knighting.
Sorry about that.
No, okay. What's after that one? No, that's just a banquet during that time. So there's only a few photos from that period, unfortunately. Yeah. I started getting into creating. I found, as I am today, I'm an atmosphere person. And I started, I like to set up the tent. And eventually you'll see there's another picture of my later encampment, which was getting kind of cool. I built my own thrones and all that kind of stuff. At this point here, so this is getting into my final armor that you guys would remember me as up to about 96 when I moved away.
Yep. Most of what I know about you. Oh, we lost you.
He'll be back. There he is.
Yeah, I'm here. There you go.
Okay.
Okay, pop back to that one where I'm just teaching that fellow.
Is this one?
There you go. Yeah. So that was, I think that was Eirikr I was teaching there. He left the group not long after that. But I started teaching, and that was, I got to that point in my life where I had to pass it on. Otherwise, what else can you do? And, anybody who gets any wisdom in any category shouldn't hoard it. And, I love teaching. I was analytical. I had the ability when I fought, I remember I talked to Jeffrey about this, and Jeffrey he said he had to practice that move, and then he would go out there and fight those moves robotically. I was analytical, and I can analyze as it was going. So I would be fighting the guy, and I'd see the openings, and I see his little pattern. So I would set him up. So I could fight really fast and think really fast as I went, and that was probably my knack that I had at the time. But being that I was analytical, I started analyzing my moves. Because I used to practice in front of that little picture and stuff, all that when I was younger, I learned to, what it took to do the motions perfectly, and that, I was kind of mechanical in it in that respect. And so I could learn to teach, and I still can do it now. I can teach somebody who's brand new first time, and I can have them swinging shots inside of 20 minutes, doing a combination, and they all love it. It's lots of fun. And I did it just recently. We had somebody stay over. And no, that was beforehand. There was another one that just came and visited us, and there was a couple of Korean students that came with their friends, and he was absolutely fascinated when he found out that I did sword fighting. So I took him outside and I showed him how to do some moves, all in about 10 minutes. So still love it. Anyway, so long story short, but from that point on, I started a fighting practice out in Cloverdale, across the street from our family business. And it means my whole world was quite thin. I worked all day in the family business. The pub was across 100 meters this way, and the fighting practice was 100 meters that way. So we just had this my whole life was 300 meters in a circle. But that was a great practice, and I used to do all sorts of things. I was very, lots of combination lineups, and we do it standing, on our knees, practicing defense only. I'd always throw some fun stuff in there as well, and it drew a lot of people. So a lot of the nights, I was talking to Oak, and we're trying to remember some of the people that were in that group. But Sir Max, Sir Oak, I think it's Sir Max. I think is he a knight? Oh. Jeffrey, a lot of the Shittimwood groups. There was another guy who became King of the West, who I keep on forgetting his name. He's moved from kingdom to kingdom now, so I've lost track of him, but there is a picture of him. He came over. I last saw him here in Lockhart. He was king. And he came up and said, "Oh, I love your fighting practice." And I'm looking at him and thinking, "You what?" I couldn't remember him. He was a young guy when he was at the group. And he'd grown up and he'd become a king. So anyway, that was fun.
It's be really gratifying, though.
Yeah, I love it. I love, it's exciting for me to teach something to somebody and then go out and sit there and watch them go out and then do it. Oh, it's very satisfying. You know, a lot of fighters that kind of fall in a heap, and they put all their this is an assessment of mine anyway. They put all their value as a person on their abilities on the field, but that your days are numbered. You know, it's I kind of always related sword fighting to tennis. You know, you're on top for a certain while, and then there's a new group comes in, and they're younger and faster, and you're not going to last. And they keep trying because in your mind you think you know you can do it, but unfortunately your body fails you. So I, on the other hand, was able to let go and say, okay, that was my time, and but I can teach the next generation, and I can see it, and I can get excited, and you know, you're on the side and you're holding your breath for them, and it's nothing to do with you. It's it's them. It's their moment. So yeah, anyway, I like to do that.
I wish more folks would do that. I think it's great. So this is you in Torquil?
It's important. Yeah. So this is the third reign. Now, I have videos. I have a lot of video. They call, I don't know how they called me. There was a nickname for it, but I was the video replay king. I used to videotape stuff in the early days, and then I would go back and look at it, and watch, and learn how the guys fought. So I learned how to fight them in absentee of actually seeing them. Nowadays, we could stream of an event and we could see it on live, but not in those days. We had beta cameras, big tank of a thing, black and white, grainy, and we would videotape. But I'd watch these things over and over again. But somebody videotaped our crown tournament. But the problem is Torquil and I were a mirror for each other. And our fights I think the second fight went on for 35, 38 minutes on the video. But the problem was, it went on into the evening. The whole tournament went, it dragged on and on and on. And then, so by the time we got fighting, we were fighting into the dark. So they lit, after the second, I don't know if I won in straight two, or I can't remember on that third crown, but I know that we were fighting, and they came up and said, listen, do you want to fight this last one tomorrow morning? Well, I had to go home and go to work the next morning. So I said, no, I want to fight it now. So they lit a whole bunch of Viking torches all around the outside, and we did that Thursday one. So there's a video, you can hear everything, and every occasion now you can see this little flame go by, because that's the only thing that those videos were capable of picking up in those days. And then you hear this, hold, no, here's twack, hold, cheer, because I hit him just as he was walking towards I remember that final shot. He came at me, and I just took one step to the left, and I did a straight throw, and he walked straight into the blade, and he kept on, and he staggered 2 steps towards the Eirikr edge, and they called a hold, and then he fell, and then that was it. And thank God, I was there, and he put me on the throne, the crown. We had to go through court, got out of court. I was in my car, and I was driving home, because it was like a 5-hour drive. And I got home at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and had to go to work at 9. Yeah, it was a tough one. That was my last crown that I went into. But Torquil and I were matched for each other, and I think what happens, I won that. I was champion. That was it. I was champion when I won that crown, and champion was done up in Alberta, up north of Alberta, and I won it. That's right. Torquil was my second. Yeah, and so after I won, we called him up, and then I stood out there, and I grabbed the cloak off my shoulder, and I grabbed the sword, and I says, I won't be needing this anymore, and I swung it around him. And I just remember that the cheer was so loud, it was deafening. It was just in unison. And you talk about an exciting moment, that's one I can remember. It was piercing. It was so loud, the cheer. And I just thought, I did the right thing because I wasn't sure if it was going to be the right thing to do because, you know, they say, oh, well, what do you do? What do you do? You know, and the guy won, you know, champion. Now he's going to win. Now he's going to be the king. So, yeah, we passed it on to Torkel. So any pictures you have of me at Crown with Torkel as champion behind me, that was on that third reign. And then I think he went to win later on. So, yeah.
In this picture that we're looking at, are you guys just fooling around? Because it looks like you, yeah. So, okay.
Yeah, that was a great story. There's a video for this one. I got a video for this. It's scary, actually. But we had this idea, you know, Torkel, I think, was, he did movie sets. He did his stuntman stuff and all that. And I had all my gear. You can see I had chainmail I bought off of Jeffrey, and I had the helmet that was given to me as a gift and all this stuff. So I had all this stuff, and we said, well, hey, why don't you take the crown from me? You know, try to come up and, you know, have the whole traditional thing. Why don't we fight for it? You know, and then he says, yeah, I got some theater swords. You know, we can fight with those. And then we get there and we kind of go around behind a tree. We do about 10 minutes of what do you call it? Practicing of what we were going to do, you know. And yeah, you go down the ground and then I kick him and he's going to roll and then he's going to defend himself and this and that. And I'm going to fall up against a tree and he's going to pull out a dagger and stab me. So yeah, everything works out. Everything works out. We get to about this point here, and he's on his knees, and I think he just blocked. So I had kicked him in the side, and he rolled because, of course, he knew how to do all that stuff because he was a stuntman, you know. So it looked really good, and we were fighting with the swords. And except at one point when we were still fighting there, I kind of had a mind flash and thought I was fighting him, and I did a slice shot right across his eye slots. But thank God I pulled the shot and it just went past it. And you can see it in the video, went right across his shield top. And if I had forgotten, I would have taken his eyeballs out. Anyway, just a moment in time. You know, it could have gone completely different. It could have been a whole other different history. There you go. So point of impact. Now this is really funny, this one. He had a retractable dagger. He pulls this out, he says, I got this retractable dagger. We'll go back. And I'll stick it in your side after you know, I'll lose my sword and then I'll stab you in the guts with this dagger, right? Retractable track. So the only problem, we get up there, we get against the tree, and he loses his sword. I got to go to chop him down, and he pulls the dagger out, and he jabs it in my side. It didn't retract. It stuck. It jabbed. And of course, the only thing that saved me was the fact that I was wearing chainmail, but no gambeson underneath, just a little tunic. So he actually pierced me, and I carried a scar on my side out, minuscule little. But it carried a slice of my side there just for years. It was there for years. It's gone now, but anyway, it was a running joke. And I just remember, I was doing a flashback. I remember him saying, "Oh, it's a bit sticky," you know, and he would. After he jabbed it into me, and on the video he goes, oh, like this. It was like that was real because it hurt. and he anyway, he pulls it back and he wiggles it with his thumb a little bit. And then he jams it back into me and it retracted that second time. Thank God. Otherwise I had multiple slices of me. But anyway, it was a good one. Wow. And it worked the second time, thank God. And then I slid down, and during my mortally wounded state, I passed the crown over to him. So it was all good. It was lots of fun. Apparently, there was tears and all that stuff. So it must have made an impression. So yeah, it was fun. It was good. That was a great event. And I think I came back later as a ghost to haunt him during the fealty section. So I came back with a white cloak over my head, so I looked like Casper the Ghost.
Oh.
You did this to me. You did this to me. What else you got? What else? Yeah, there you go. So there's my final encampment that I had. I sold everything off. I just went through these stages where I just purged, and it was a great encampment. So I would build that whole thing again, but I just make the top a bit taller on the next one. Max bought that tent and then painted it all up with some Celtic knots, which looked really cool. Thrones went to Baron of Portland. at the time, Baron and Baroness of Portland bought him off me. Tall, thin fellow. Can't remember his name. Yeah, yeah. And Megan took half the stuff when we went our own way, and so she got all the pillows and stuff. She still has them and stuff. So yeah, I was never good at. I got the big dog cloak. That was one part of my third stepping up cloak. And that was done by Lau and Ludwika.
Awesome.
Beautiful, beautiful outfit. I wore it for years. The tunic eventually started to fray, and I couldn't wear it anymore. Passed it on to a newbie, but I keep that cloak. I'll never let go of that. It's a work of art, as far as I'm concerned. So it's a beautiful, beautiful cloak.
I think that they would really enjoy the fact that you still have it.
Yeah, I kept a few things. I had a beautiful. I have some stuff that I didn't bother putting the pictures in, but I had some beautiful stuff from Torgo. I had a lovely helmet that everybody else has a copy of that same helmet, and I sold it off. I wore it down at Estrella, and we were the point guard. Now there is a photo of that floating around. Now you probably didn't grab any photos, didn't you? It's not in my collection. It's a common group photo anyway. The Varangian guard, and we ran point duty. I ran point on this charge, and we were all round shields and all had our cloaks on. It was great. It was a great charge, and I did a dance out the front of the group and got their whole attention. And anyway, we charged him anyway. I hit this little fella. He was one of the dukes. He was a little fidgety fella from one of the other kingdoms, and I remember he used to bob like this. And I fought him in the ducal tournaments, in the one I wasn't allowed to win. Anyway, I one-shotted him, and he didn't like that. But he obviously had his eyes on me, hit me, and that helmet went off my helmet. So I hit the ground, grabbed the helmet, stuck it on my helmet. I'm out. Anyway, apparently they did very well. They went on to sweep the whole group, whatever. Yeah, it was great event.
All right, should we finish up these pictures?
I'm not sure. That other one was a picture of Megan and myself. So we did the two range together. So that would have been, yeah, that was coming in for our second one, the one on the horse. Yeah, so Megan was on a horse. So I came in, there's the dog cloak. And that was the Sutton Hoo helmet that was done, tooled in leather. Was a gift to me. I gave it back to another fellow. There's our third stepping up. Oh, no, that's not the step up, but that is one of our third. Oh, might be. Yeah, actually, it might be the third stepping up. Yes. So that's the one that Lau and Ludwika made for me.
Awesome. And here's Ludwika here and Torquil.
Yeah. So that means that was the one. Yeah. So that was the third one, wasn't it? Yes. Yeah. Sorry. Trying to. So that was the one I passed it on, the champion onto him. So yeah, it was great outfits, beautiful outfits. Megan was quite beautiful in those outfits she used to wear. Yeah, she was a stunner.
Yeah, I apprenticed to Ludwika, and she used to talk about the stuff that she made for Megan and how much she loved Megan all the time. So
she's a sweetie. You can't fault her. No, she's lovely. We just had, what do you call them? Irresistible. I can't remember the word. It just didn't work out. We're best. We're dead. We should be best friends. You know, I know. All in hindsight, yeah. I mean, I should have worked it all out back then and stuff. But it happened. What happened has happened. It was 30 years ago. So what do we do? So happily married now. Thank you very much.
How did you end up in Australia?
My present wife, she's Australian. I met her just after I stepped out, after we did that fight, that mock fight that Torquil and I did, and then I stepped down, and Megan went her way and I went my way, and that was kind of the end of it. And Barrick was living with me during that time. It was a short window there where he lived with me. Anyway, our family business burned down, the one across the street from where we did the fighting practice. It was real bad. So the marriage ended, our family business burned down, everything went wrong over a few short periods, And so I was really down, I'd say. I just, I went to the pub a lot, and I think I was drowning my sorrows, I think, in those days. And anyway, I met Narelle's brother, and he was Australian. We hit it off, and we started talking about the medieval group and everything. And I said, well, I do fighting practice right next door. I said on Wednesday, and anyways. So on the Wednesday, he shows up with his sister Narelle, and anyway, and she was a stunner, and she was a cracker, and that caught my attention, as most male men say that. My wife was really beautiful, it's what you say, and and so we met, and we just saw each other on and off over probably 4 or 5 months, and I guess, or she was there nannying for her friends, one of their Australian friends, which is only not a few blocks from the house, and then we just struck it off, and I kind of realized that when she was going home that I kind of fell for her. So anyway, as like anything, I pursued her like anything else, like a tournament, and when I finally won her, I ticked that off the list, and so it's taken us 25 years to figure out the marriage, but we got it going pretty good now. What do you do?
And so do you?
So nowadays I restore. Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay. And are you active in Lockock now?
Yeah, when we moved here in '96, I started a group with 4 others up in Albury-Wodonga area. It's called the Shire Borders Cross. So it'd show up, I'm sure, on the Lockock group. So I started that with them, and I said at the time, because we were trying to get established in the country, and we really were poor in those days. Those first 4.5 years, we starved. It was difficult, and I was trying to get my business going and trying to make some money, and it was tough. And I said to them, I said, listen, I'll be the front, I'll be the draw card for the group. I said, but if you guys could run it, because I was terrible with paperwork. I'm still terrible with paperwork. I don't rely on me to run an office or anything, because unless I have a secretary comes with the office, I'm not going to get anything done. So I stare at paperwork. It's like glaze, So we started that group, and it's 24 years later, and it's still going, and I bowed out after, I don't know how long I was with it for, but I bowed out for about 15 years. I was there for probably 5-6 years. And then it was up and going really well. And we ran some, a war that they ran each year. And because Albury-Wodonga is in between 3 cities, we could draw everybody. It's just a good place to come to. You see, it's 2 or 3 hours to several of the cities, and then and Sydney's 5.5 hours. So it's like going from Vancouver to Portland. So that's this. It's kind of like being in Seattle and having Vancouver and Portland and all them all come to the same area. So So I took about 15 years off, and it was just to get established, and we did. We're okay now. We'll be fine. And so I got back into the group about 2-3 years ago. I started showing up again and just doing the monthly bash and stuff like that. And we started doing some. My wife and I, we did a road trip last year before the virus thing, and we did a trip down. We did just some traveling for ourselves. And then we took the armor and went to tournaments, and yeah, it was good. And so we want to do a lot more of that. And so we're just getting at that stage in life now. We want to do we'll travel, and I'll just throw my armor in. I can fight good. I'm okay. I don't win. I'm not fast enough anymore. And but I'm aggressive and I'm still competitive, and I still think I can do it. I did a crown tournament a couple of years ago, and I guess halfway through it type thing. I don't know, halfway, 3/4, something like that. But yeah, I think in 5-6 rounds. But they did a round robin, so the guys who at the top didn't lose any rounds, so or had lost one each. I think they'd lost one each, and I lost 3 or something. So I was out. So my wife said I could never do that again. Too stressful for me. So,
I understand that.
but I still want to do it. In my mind, I still want to do it. Go figure. I'm still competitive. And like I say, I can still swing a sword. So I'm okay with it. But I'm just not fast. I don't block very well. But I'm sure if I practiced, I would probably be up at level again, but nowhere like I ever was. So I'm much slower than ever was. So.
You described yourself as an analytical fighter. How do you think fighting has changed from when you were in your prime to now?
Yeah, when I look back on video of myself, I look at it and I'm quite disgusted. It's a lot of wasted opportunities. I wasn't aggressive enough. I used to stand back and play the distance game. And one shot, I pick the shots, and because I was good at it. I had a massive forearm, and I could really swing that sword fast, and I could divert it. I could go down, and I could just change the direction at the last second, and I was good at that. But I watched the thing, and it's dragging on and dragging on. It's mostly because me. I'm just waiting for that opportunity, and I'm not creating the opportunity. So I look at my old stuff, and it's not good fighting to me. I just had a couple of good abilities. That's all. What I see now is overall fitness. So the guys are doing body fitness and incorporating that in with talent of swinging and diverting that sword and so forth. So obviously with strength, you can make that sword travel faster and go harder. You don't have to go harder. You don't need to hit harder, but you can get it in there faster, and that here makes a big difference. So yeah, the fitness. Nobody did it when we were young. We all just fought based on we'd show up in our jeans and our t-shirts, and that was as good as our fitness got. I think I heard Torgel used to go running before Crown and stuff, get his cardio up and stuff. And that was the only person I ever heard that anybody ever took steps. Other than that, we all went to fighting practice, and we just fought at fighting practices. So, and of course, I was going to several a week, so I was doing okay doing that.
Very cool.
You there? It looks like your screen's frozen.
Oh.
Nope, still here.
Nope. There you go. Your eyes are open now.
Oh, really? I don't even want to know. What
your eyes got closed there. It looked like you'd gone to sleep.
Oh. So I have another question for you about fighting technique. When you went to high guard, by going to the Seattle practice, is there anything you added to the high guard that was your own?
Yeah, I used to get harped on because some of the hard guard used to come down across the shield. What I did eventually was I became a horizontal. So I used to fight from and would call us out and say, your sword's broken because you had it too close to your shield and it got hammered against your shield. So, and I think Torgel talked about that type of stuff that people would say, oh, you can't do that because it's considered handballing. And it's not like we rested it there, but it would slap against the shield. So I started to meet the sword. So when the people come in, I go tap, and I just use the old, physics. So I'd meet power with power, and I would stop their sword in mid blow. So I would just flick it. So I learned to use my wrist and meet the shots. And that it was some of that, just variations like that. So if we look at that I don't think you have any later shots of me fighting. I did have some that I didn't bother posting to you, but you'll see me with the horizontal guard, and that was my. Sorry, Skalanis fought with the style behind. I teach back, put the sword back, tap your far shoulder. All right, so that's how your starting point. The reason for that is you have to stretch to reach that far back shoulder blade, and in doing that, your arm is out of reach. So that's the basis of stance. So that I say, what's the interpretation of stance? Stance is you are prepared for that person to come at you and start the first blow. That's your starting point. And it was always important to come back to your stance. You don't finish a blow and end up here or here or here or here. You back here again, and you're ready for the next shot. If you're not ready to attack, then step out, take one step back. So there's stuff like that. But the high guard, it was just really introducing it into the Lions Gate area, really in those days, and tweaking it. So, like I say, it wasn't down, which is what Torvald did in those earlier days. I think I've got pictures of him, and he's got it more horizontal as well. So everybody was different. Everybody's interpretation of the high form was different. So that's how I see it. I can't think of anything else in relation to that. I created my own one, mostly a strong forearm, pick shotting. Yeah. You know, I look at, like I said, I look at that video and I just think, I think I would have had my day. I wouldn't have won any crowns after that because the styles were changing, progressive, Skaggy, and all those guys coming in, took what we had, improved it, and got better. Then the next wave came in, they kind of added fitness into it. So they had that really good techniques, and then they had fitness in there so they could control that sword easily and move those shields around, you know, effortlessly and stuff like that. So some of the fighters I see in Antier now are brilliant fighters. So great fighters now. And you know, it's always fun to come over, try to come over every second year and have a play with them and fight the guys that get knocked out of the rounds and crown. It's more like a beat a pell pole for them, but it's okay. It's all fun.
Definitely.
Do you watch fighting video now of fighters? Is that something that you still do?
No, not anymore. No, there's lots floating around, but there's probably too much. I have no agenda anymore as far as trying to. I would jump into a crown tomorrow, knowing that I probably would never win, but I would do my damnedest to try and win. I would love to do it, but my wife says no way. So unless she lets me fight for somebody else, I'm not going to get a crown. So, but you know, I'd like tournaments. I still like to fight in them and stuff like that. And but I don't practice enough. I got 4 pale poles out there. I mean, I got all the gear. I got lots of stuff, and I don't get into it enough. That's all. So I'm trying to think if I've got a picture. I don't think I gave you a picture of my most recent stuff in armor, but I got a new helmet and stuff like that. But I've got about 4 of them up there now. So nothing flash, but it's all fun.
So we sort of glossed over your reigns. Like what was your favorite part about reigning, like once you got the hang of it? Oh, we lost him.
Jack.
It was a reigning question. It's
all right, we're just waiting for you to come back online.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. Now, if you ask what's my most epic fighting moment or something? I mean, gosh, being at 20th, with all the other kings of all the other kingdoms, that was pretty awesome. Especially I was young and stupid then, but it was to be part of that was really, really exciting. Gosh,
Well, I'm happy with epic fighting moments. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Well, as a fighting moment, I just remember Australia, and Torquil could probably confirm this one. He was there, and Jeffrey said he saw it from a distance, and they had 2 walls, hundreds of fighters. These 2 walls that just went down, and this gap between it, a big standoff, and it was a what do they call it? Get a new life.
Resurrection.
So if time you die, you run resurrection thing, and you run down. There was a resurrection. So the restoration was down over there, 100 feet, and it was sort of kind of down a hill. And I remember I was standing on one side with Torquil and this big crowd of guys, and then the other side said, "Hey, we've got the king of Untitled or something with us. Take heart. And then I said, I whispered to him, I says, yeah, and you got the king of Antir on this side, right? And I didn't say it very loud. It was pretty weak. It was pretty pathetic, actually. And anyway, somebody said it, and then somebody heard me whisper it, and then they say, hey, we got the king of Antir on our side. And then he followed it by saying, who is he? He's looking around. Nobody knew who I was. I says, who is this Antir guy? Anyway, soon as this other king saw me, he said, single combat. Anyway, so we walk out between these 2 armies in line, and there's this gap about 15 feet, and we had this bear pit between the 2 things, so we went off at it. And it was short and sweet, but I got him. And then and then all I heard was all the guys, revenge the king, right? So I just ran at our shield wall, and I just dove through the shield, and it closed up behind me. Anyway, Torquil was there when I came through the other side. He said, "Oh, wasn't that cool?" So that was the highlight of my whole career, as far as I can say. I can think, there's moments like that. Anyway, that one, passing the mantle on for the champions to Torquil. Those moments when you get really excited, and it's just like you want to pee yourself. It's so exciting. So yeah, that was my best fighting moment, as far as I'm concerned. So
Awesome.
I found my old lists. I have a couple old. Oops, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, I found a couple old lists of my tournaments in my heyday, sort of when I was up and coming, and I used to mark all these lists of who I fought, and whether I won or lost, and all the rest of it, all through it. So it was interesting to see all the grand names, the old Revere is Ulfred and Stargrim and Torgel and Dak and Montfred, Sir Garen, and Whedon, and all these names, great names, great fighters in those early days, and it was just nice to see, to find these old lists of all these guys I used to fight, and yeah. What were you going to ask me? Sorry, I was cutting you off.
I actually forgot what I was going to ask.
Well, I have a question from your audience. They would like to know if you remember giving the Shire of Shittimwood to the Kingdom of the West.
Say what?
She wants
Would
to
I give the Shire of Shittimwood to the Kingdom of the West? Is that what you're saying?
That's what she said.
Why the hell would I do that?
I don't know.
I mean, geographically, it's totally, it's right up at Canada. I mean, you couldn't break the kingdom up any worse if you tried. Oh, it would have been some joke or something that was going on at the time. No, I don't remember any details about that, but it's like, all I can say is, like, did I do that? Did I say that? Because, like I said, my first grade, I did some stupid things, but, I said some stupid things, every time I think of something, it's like, all right, yeah, something I should never have said, and I hurt somebody's feelings. It's like, I was like totally oblivious. I just didn't realize social etiquette,
So I remember what I was going to ask. I was going to ask you if Banjo was your squire, and if he was he your only squire, or did you have any other squires knighted?
No, it was Sunjan was my first was Eirikr, and he was the one I was showing sword fighting in that photo previously. And his girlfriend didn't like the group, and anyway, she did everything to get him out of the group. So he was there, he fought, he was really good, he was really fast, he would have been brilliant. And but his girlfriend just didn't want to bar of us, and so he just disappeared one day. He just didn't show up. He must have made it told her that he wouldn't go anymore, and he didn't go, and that was the end of it. And so he was a squire, and it was a bit idiotic on my behalf. He was a friend, and I squired him, which meant I made him my subordinate, and we were friends. We should have stayed as equals. He should have gone with squire or somebody else. So that was just stuff you learn with time, but otherwise, Sunjan, who still says she's my squire, I don't know why, because she doesn't fight anymore, but she's got all her other accolades, which put fighting to shame. So she's done very well for herself. And then Banjo, of course I would tell everybody that I'm coming over, on particular years. I'm going to come over and visit in August or September and all that. So they kind of waited, and they waited till me to show up, and then they squired Banjo while I was there. So that was really cool. That was like a really good high point, those things. And so I got to see him knighted. But I didn't get to teach him, so he did everything on his own merits and in the hands of others. But it was a great moment to have that. So at least I got one guy into knighthood, if anything, only through inspiration.
Do you have anything else that you want to talk about that we haven't talked about?
Did you get all the photos up? Did you have any other photos that you had stockpiled? Because the photos sort of jogged the memory.
We went through all of the photos that you gave us, and I didn't pull any, so maybe I should have.
If you've got anything there. I could have given you photos over here and stuff like that. So I showed up in Lochak in '96, and then I did a tournament sometime after that, which is the big tournament they do every year. And it's called Festival, and it's about a 4 or 5 day event. And I've only been to a few, so I went to that one, and I introduced myself at Crown, and and then I had fought the tournament that day, and I'd won the tournament that day, and then introduced myself, and promptly left the group after for 15 years, but I said, oh, I'm here to stay, and I didn't stay. I moved on and got myself established in the country, and now I'm back again. But yeah, it was good. It's been a good fun thing. Pictures pop up now, and I save them, and I'm trying to create a whole new album. Because there's pictures that have just never been seen. People are just posting ones that they've had hidden away in their albums and in their cameras and stuff. So it's been great to see that, and it brings back memories and stuff. So I'm gonna continue along as best I can. I found out a couple of years ago I got leukemia, but I'm managing that myself just through diet, and I'm still alive. I'm not dead yet, so hey, I still fight, and I can fight, well, and I feel great. And so I'll just keep monitoring it and doing the best I can. And I'll just keep playing as long as I can. I think now, man, I have to look after my joints and stuff, but I feel really, really good. The one thing about the diet is I lost 20 kilos and all my arthritis disappeared. And that's one of the worst things for most of the fighters is the arthritis in the joints. Well, mine cleared up. I feel great. I feel like I'm 30 years old. so I can fight. And my talents sucks, but I can fight. And I can pick a fight pretty good. And I'm more aggressive now because I have nothing to win, nothing to gain, nothing to lose. So I just go in there and raise hell, and I enjoy it. Yeah, it's fun.
Do you want to do final 10?
Oh, yeah, we could do final 10, sure. All right, we're going to do the final 10. What event have you never gone to that you would like to go to?
Pennsic.
Pennsic, good one. If you could.
Never been to Pennsic, no.
You didn't go when you were a king at all? No.
Everybody went. Everybody talked about it. I just wasn't game for a 5-day drive across and 5-day drive back.
Yeah.
Brutal. If you could fight anyone in the world, who would it be?
If I could fight anyone in the world, whoa, only one?
Oh, you can.
Only one.
You can tell a handful.
Who's that for you? Duke Ragnar, definitely Duke Jade. I'd like to spar with all the old gang. So when you say fight, but I look at it from my age, and I'm sure from their age, because I'm the youngest in that second wave, so I think Torgel and all those guys are a few years older than me. And so a lot of them are all pushing 60 and 62, 63. I think Torquil is older than is old in the 60s as well, I think.
Doesn't age.
So I'd love to just get an armor and spar, just twack at each other, fight half speed, just to laugh, count out the blows, call out the blows, just have fun. Yeah, I'd love to. Dak. Yeah, any of the guys who would be game just to, I let them hit me if they didn't want to get an armor, just for fun.
Who are your favorite people to watch fight?
Oh, crackies. Oh, the recent king, if not already the king again, and Tyr.
Christian?
Yeah, love it. And I for the first time got to see Lou Vigas, who's now another name. Sorry, Lou Viga. So Lewis Hale. Yeah, he fought Christian in the finals on the last time I visited, and brilliant to watch. That showed me the next wave, the talent of the next wave. Just lightning speed, great variety of shots. Great strength. Yeah, great. Yeah, sure.
Did you have an inspiration or a hero in the SCA, and if so, who was it?
Thorin. So he was, I say it humorously, he was my SCA dad, though, we weren't squire or any of that kind of thing. We didn't have a relationship that close, but he was a mechanic. They called me Robo Duke. There's a cartoon they made of me in that day, and because I was very mechanical in some of my stature, I used to move my feet. I would quietly move my feet and place myself while I was fighting. Hopefully they didn't know I was moving, setting myself up to do something. But Thorin was really accurate. He fought with that horizontal high phone, and he just drop shots in, and he just get them really well. So Thorin was good. I love Torgel's styling as well. Man, he was fast in his day. He was brilliantly fast. And Dak was great. I fought him, of course, in the finals, and then after that, we followed each other. So I didn't really get to fight him much after that, because he was already king. And but in that, you know, when we fought in that my Silver Rose one, I remember we came off after he finally got me. We had a long fight, and then he finally got me with an uppercut. He really got this uppercut, got underneath my shield, and we had a break because it was such a long. It was hot. It was, I don't know what it was. It was stinking hot. It was 95 degrees out or something, and I remember he took helmet off and he was like, you know. We were so hot, and we just stuck our heads in ice, and we were trying to cool ourselves down. And I just remember when we were fighting through that long fight, and I said to him during the fight, I said, "What's up with you?" I said, "You normally kill me so quick, you know." and he and even though he was so exhausted, he hit like a ton of bricks. Crikey, bam! I just remember, like, wow. Bam, like this, and like, oh man, my hand's hurting through the shield. So, you know, he was great. He has so much power. Gosh, who else? Anybody else? You know, but people who were unique. Oak, you know, because he had half plastic elbow. He did this double tap on your head, you know, and if you weren't paying attention, he'd always move back and take the double tap, you know, rats and stuff like that. But those will be, must say, some of my ones. There was unique ones. Sir Clifford, lefty. I had a man, really wicked uppercut, get you just inside the wing tip of your leg and sting like hell because he just caught up just behind the armor, and he was good that way. Yeah.
What is your favorite medieval-esque or period movie?
Oh, I had the old diehards, you know, but you know, Conan and stuff like that. But it moves around. Old favorites. Gosh, I remember Excalibur. Do you remember that? 1984.
Oh, I remember. My mom took me to it, and I was like 9 years. No.
Oh, yeah. The nudie scene at the beginning. That's like the first nudie scene I've ever seen on the screen. It's like, people do that.
And the raven eating the eyeball out of the skeleton. Yes, it scarred me.
Yeah, it was like,
scarred me.
Yeah,
I
it was
think
very
we were
dark.
like 7 or 8.
Yeah, I was young. I was too young for that movie.
So here's a bit of nostalgia. So the guy who built all that armor for that movie, that armor was built out of aluminum, and it was built by an armorer named Terry English over in Britain. And and in my pursuit, when I was going to those museums and getting and studying the armor in Glenbow Museum over in Calgary, I wanted to get my hands on Henry VIII's foot combat armor when he was my size. He was young, you know, when he was young and he was thin. And so I had called the Tower of London, and I said, "Can I fly over there when you're going to do the next cleaning and actually take a pattern off the suit?" He said, "Oh, the guy's already done that." And I said, "Who's that?" He said, "Oh, he's Terry English. You know, here's his phone number. He gave you to it." And he said, "Oh, he's the guy who did the armor for Excalibur, the movie Excalibur." So I ended up phoning him. You know, and back in those days, I mean, you had to phone. Well, crikey, you had to talk to this operator talked to that operator, and then they connect you with a little local operator, and you're talking to all these three ladies. You could hear all three of them talking to each other, and then you'd get finally click, hello, you know, on the other side, and hi. You know, he had the pattern. He stuck it in a wardrobe, and then he sold the wardrobe. He left the pattern in there. I never got it.
What a bummer.
So there's my connection with Excalibur. I got to talk to the guy who did the armor.
That's really cool.
What book do you think everyone on the path to knighthood should read?
You're asking a guy who doesn't read.
Okay.
I'd say you go back to the movie. Watch Excalibur, watch Conan, watch all those good movies. Get the best of all of them, you know. That which does not kill us makes us stronger. You know, those things like that. You know, the phrases. they're probably more appealing to me than I say a book. Yeah,
Cool.
I agree.
That's cool.
Movies.
All right. What do you think is the most important trait to become a successful SVA fighter?
Persistence. Go the extra mile to learn something. So I would drive 2 hours after work to fight with some guys for 2 hours. And then they'd go to the pub. And then I'd drive home 2 hours. So I'd get home at 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning. And I was the only guy doing that. And so I say to those guys, what are you doing that's above and beyond to learn? Are you watching lots of video? Are you getting techniques from that? And nowadays, just you can click and be right an armchair warrior nowadays. Just there's so much online. But practice. Do basics. I teach basics because I get an advanced fighter, and I can still correct them because I just fight, and I just slow it. I say, okay, freeze, and I go over there and I say, just move your elbow this way, and then bring your wrist up. I say, now do that again, right? Bang, in, you're in, right? So it's this corrections. So technique is really important, but it all goes back to the basics. So I'm real big on basics, and that's why I love teaching. I just teach. Give me the new guys. I'll just teach them.
Very cool. That's all I have. So
well, that's the top 10 questions in 5. Okay.
Thank you so much, Your Grace, for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed looking through your photos. Thanks for sending those to us. It's just so fun to see young Dak and young you and young Chrisant and young Edward Ian Anderson that none of us could even tell who it was.
Ah, there you go. That's who it was, Edward Ian. Yeah. Thank you. I was hoping that somebody would tell you who it is.
So thank you everyone for joining us. I want to say happy birthday to my sister again. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
And then I want to wish all of the people watching from the States a happy Thanksgiving tomorrow. I'm very thankful that you tune in and watch us, and that we get to do this cool thing and meet all these cool people and look at cool pictures and learn about history. It's been super fun for us.
Yeah, we really got some beautiful ones.
Yeah.
So,
thank you.
and Your Grace, you've been somebody that I've wanted to meet for a very long time. I've heard lots of stories from Sunjin, and so this was a great birthday present for me. Thank you very much.
Happy birthday to you, and I better get these stories because I want to know if they're actually. I have to be able to defend myself.
They're all good. She loves you like nothing else.
Yeah. She was a great friend. Like when we were there, she's like I say, she's a lifelong friend, and we could just slip right back in. It's funny, we don't talk while I'm away, but when we come back, we're just like, right, where did we leave off?
Friends like that are irreplaceable. It's wonderful.
So I just want to note that on Sunday, Ashaxi and I will be doing a special sisters interview of Duke Heinrich of Hoffen, who was at the first event ever and is, I think, maybe the premier, like the oldest living Duke in the SCA. I think I have that right. So that'll be super cool. And then next week, we're going to be talking to Morgana.
Morgana Woods, and Tuesday, Disa Berkelende. So Disa does Possument, but she like makes her own wire and everything, which is super cool. And Morgana is a potter and
she's an art goddess.
Yeah, and a pelican and a very long time player from the inlands. So
very cool stuff. So thank you everyone, and we'll see you later.
Thank you, Grace. Good night.
Bye bye. Good night.